Welcome to another episode of B&B Movie Reviews. This week, we'll take a look at what's on the menu, get invited to a murder mystery party, spend the holidays with our favorite misfits, and take a trip down memory lane with one of the greatest filmmakers of our time.
Who are you?
Margot. My name is Margot.
I've served many Margos. You're not a Margot. No.
What the f does it matter?
It matters because this menu, this guest list, this entire evening has been painstakingly planned, and you are not a part of that plan. And it's spoiling everything. In order to proceed, I have to know where to seat you. With us or with them. It's very important.
And then you'll let me live?
That you live? No. Of course not.
Chef Slovic questions Margot about who she really is and where her allegiances lie in this dark, satirical mystery thriller that follows a group of distinguished and carefully hand-picked individuals who have been invited to an exclusive restaurant for a lavish menu with some shocking surprises. Brad, this movie, there's not a lot that you can really say about this movie, but I have to say, watching this film, I love the lead up to everything that we're getting in this movie as far as like the mystery and how everything starts to build up, how things slowly start to reveal itself. I think it's masterfully done. It's a lot of fun.
This is the kind of movie that you do not want to watch a trailer of. Like, stay away from the trailers. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, steer clear. You want to know as little as possible because this film is so much fun in how it slowly unravels and becomes this devilish nightmare for all the participants.
Yeah, and the one thing while I was watching this movie that really kind of stuck with me as I was watching it was, and not to give too much away as far as the plot, not gonna do that, but it really feels like that this is a movie that is really talking about the artist experience. Because you look at all these different people that have been invited to this lavish restaurant that has basically been given this invitation. And you have food critics, you have fanboys, you have, like regular customers that, frequent this chef.
Who have become numb to the experience.
They're
spending all this money on this extravagant food.
Yes.
And they don't think about it at all. They're just shoving it into their mouths.
And then you look at it from Ray Fiennes' point of view and what he is doing and the time and the effort that he puts in to creating these dishes and how easily disposable it is to the people that are consuming it. And I relate that a lot to the artist and the creative experience because of, you look at a lot of creatives and whether it's a filmmaker or a writer or anybody or a chef, they put so much time and energy into the stuff and they just want to have like that appreciation for their art.
Yeah, there's a savage nature to the depiction of the consumer. And how the consumer can become the enemy of the artist. I love that reading. I mean, it's also an Eat the Rich movie. It's a takedown of wealth. But what I also appreciate it from that point of view is there is a aspect to it that is, from Ray Fiennes' character's point of view, that is critical of the artist as well. Like there's this aspect that he is culpable in what he has created in these other monsters who are consuming his meals.
There's an obsession to it. I mean, I think it's really speaking, I think it is also a social commentary on the obsession that he has and how he has kind of cultivated this obsession with these other chefs
and a
that
self-loathing. There is an aspect to this as the courses progress where it's going to climax in a way where he also has to answer for what he has put out on the table
Yeah, I could definitely
and how
see.
he has played the game.
Now, looking at some of the participants, as far as like some of the people he's invited into this 6-course meal that he has, how do you see some of those characters and some of those performances?
Well, that's the delight of a movie like this.
Yeah.
There are so many roles to fill with some really juicy talents.
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy, though, is an interloper, as we saw in that clip. She may not actually belong there.
Yeah.
And as that character, she's sort of an in for the judgment of the audience on these people as well. Like through her, we can kind of mock all the others around her.
That's why I like too. I like being able to kind of like take a poke at some of these other people that are, kind of like, in this restaurants, whether it's like, kind of like those people who work the tech guys there.
The gangsters, I mean, they're basically gangsters, those tech guys, right?
Yeah.
There's, the actor, there's the critics, and there is a mean-spiritedness to their takedowns that the movie, it's directed by Mark Mylod, who does all the Succession episodes, or he does a bunch of the Succession episodes, and he's obviously having a lot of fun tearing into these individuals and mocking them.
Yeah.
But just when you think it's becoming only a story of mocking these fools, again, we have to look to Ralph Fiennes' character and question.
Yeah. What is his?
Yeah, this
his
is such a
motives.
hard movie to talk
I know,
about.
but it's really good, and I definitely highly recommend this movie.
It's so much fun. It's a blast.
It really is, and I think the blast comes with like the reveal, like how we slowly start to peel away the onion, which we'll talk about in our next segment. But I give this a B+. What's your rating?
I give it a B+ also. Yeah.
Perfect. So there you go. That is our take on The Menu, and when we come back, we'll take a look at Glass Onion.
Each year, there are more than a dozen significant tropical and winter storms that threaten the East Coast. So chances are there will be more hurricanes and blizzards near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Because tonight, in this very room, a murder will be committed. My murder. You will have to closely observe the crime. Consider what you know about each other. Know that across the island, I've hidden clues. Some may be helpful, some may misdirect. That's for you to determine. But if anyone can name the killer, tell me how they achieved the murder, and most importantly, what was the motive? That person wins our game. Any questions?
Edward Norton's tech billionaire Miles Braun lays down the rules for his elaborate murder mystery game with some of his close friends. But when someone actually ends up dead, Benoit Blanc is on the case to put his detective skills to the test in this highly enjoyable follow-up to the 2019's Knives Out with Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. This movie's awesome. Brad, what are your thoughts on this sequel?
I'm glad you're digging it. My thoughts are, like, let's chain Rian Johnson to the typewriter where he only can do Benoit Blanc movies going forward.
Love it.
I thought Glass Onion surpassed Knives Out.
That was the interesting thing to me coming into Glass Onion, because we know that he wants to create a franchise with Knives Out and with this character of Benoit Blanc. And so when you're coming into the second film, you're going to naturally kind of compare it to the first one. And I'm talking specifically about the cast. I thought the cast in this was fantastic. But you look at that first film and how it kind of fits really nicely into the murder mystery genre. And you look at the cast of like Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Ana de Armas, Chris Evans.
Hard to top.
And then you see the setting of that house. It feels like a murder mystery, just firing on all cylinders. So we come into this second film, and I'm just like, okay, I like the cast. Let's see how they play. Are they going to let me forget about, the cast, this ensemble from the first film? And immediately, I just fell in love with this cast and their interactions. And unlike the first movie where you have this family dynamic where they're kind of always at odds, this is more like a group of friends who have a close-knit friendship.
But they're all feeding off of each other.
They're all feeding off of each other, so I kind of like that dynamic.
Or they're all feeding off of their most successful friend.
Their meal ticket.
Yeah, the Edward Norton billionaire character.
I know.
I think like the first 30 minutes of this movie, I was enjoying it. I was like, yeah, okay, this is more of the same, Knives Out.
Yeah.
But then the script turns in on itself. It's like a switchback.
Yeah.
And when that happens, the movie skyrockets for me. Like it takes off in a way that Knives Out never took off. And man, then certain characters really show themselves. Certain actors. Janelle Monáe suddenly becomes somebody very crucial to watch.
Janelle Monáe
kills it.
Janelle Monáe is fantastic in this movie. And it's so weird that you say it, that it kind of turns, the script kind of turns on itself, because watching this movie, and the thing that I liked about it that kind of separated it from the first movie was that it almost feels like Benoit Blanc is out of his element.
Yeah.
Until it kind of made me realize that maybe he's not out of his element.
Benoit Blanc is Columbo in this. You know, Columbo would come in and be like, "Oh gosh, you know, I don't know. I'm just a I'm just a detective. I don't know what I'm up to." You know, and Benoit Blanc is putting on this Southern, you know, deep fried character that is a little bit buffoonish, but it's a mask. And when he reveals that mask at certain points, you're just like clapping, you're just delighted, you're giggling.
Yeah, and then the setting of this, I mean, this is a much more elaborate set than the house that we have.
It's wild.
It's wild. I mean, you have a remote island, you have this giant little glass onion.
It's a James Bond lair. It's a villain's lair.
It feels that way. And another thing that I really like is how prescient these films are when it speaks to the times that we live in. I mean, you look at the first film where it's really talking a lot about immigration, you know, coming out of the Trump era, and now you're dealing with this whole like Elon Musk tech billionaire.
I was wondering if we were going to talk about Elon Musk, but it's hard not to talk about Elon Musk when talking about the Edward Norton character.
Yeah.
And, you know, this film and The Menu both seem to be, you know, I'm going to use that phrase again, eat the rich movies. This one's a little more traditional in their eat the rich approach. And, oh gosh, I really want to talk about the conclusion with Edward Norton's character and the reveals of Edward Norton's character. Not gonna. But, you know, I hope there are parallels to this character's life to, you know, a character like Elon Musk.
It's interesting, but it's gotten me more excited about what Rian Johnson is going to do with this franchise, because we know there's a third film coming, which I heard that he hasn't started writing yet, so we may be a couple years away from a third Knives Out film. But this movie I highly recommend. It's
always tricky when you have a director who is killing it with a franchise, and you know, like I said, I would just want him to do these movies going forward for the end of till the end of time. But you also want him to go off and do other things. But every couple of movies, he can come back to Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, I would be.
I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, I'll be happy with that. So I give this a B+. What do you give this?
Enthusiastic B+.
Yeah. So B+ is all around. So there you go. That is our thoughts on Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. When we return, we are going to go back to the MCU and take a look at the holiday special featuring some of our favorite misfits.
Children are spending more time at home. Teachers, parents, neighbors, and friends, it's up to you to keep them safe. Now, more than ever, it's important to stay connected. By phone, video chat, and social media. If you have concerns or see changes in a child, be there for them. Ask questions. Seek help. Report suspected child abuse or neglect.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And that's why when others look away, we lean in. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change everything. With your help, more moments of hope are possible. Join our fight. Save lives.
Maybe if we gave Peter a really wonderful Christmas gift, it would make him happy.
What kind of present?
Something special he will never forget.
What about someone special?
What?
Over the years, Quill has talked about one person more than any other. A legendary hero who has saved countless lives. We could give him to Quill as a present.
Mantis and Drax try to find the best present to give Peter Quill to cheer him up for the Christmas season in this hilarious, heartwarming MCU special presentation of the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Ray, I thought that this was just absolutely fantastic. I think it really, really works as a holiday special, and especially for what James Gunn was going for. It gives us little nuggets to kind of go forward in the MCU, probably going into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I was surprised at how much narrative was pushed in this special.
Yeah, but it also feels very self-contained and very much in the spirit of holiday specials that we've seen. Maybe not so much the Star Wars special.
I don't know. Like holiday special is a loaded word because of the Star Wars holiday special, which is notorious. And I think James Gunn and Marvel is very much playing into that infamy in their Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
I think they are playing to our expectations. I think just with the title and the name, especially when this was announced, everybody was like, especially that Star Wars is owned by Disney and Marvel as well. So we're going into the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special probably, I think he's playing off of our expectations. And then when he kind of flips that and makes this really nice, heartwarming, sweet kind of like trip film between, Drax and Mantis, who are really the stars of this. I think he really kind of nails that.
He does, and in some ways that's my problem with the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, is it feels like a TV holiday special. All the actors are the same as Guardians of the Galaxy. All the sets are, they look like Guardians of the Galaxy sets, but it feels like a TV movie. And we've had now 2 special presentations for Marvel, Werewolf by Night and this one. And I thought Werewolf by Night felt like a movie experience. It was playing off of Hammer Horror, Universal Horror. And Guardians of the Galaxy is trying to do the TV holiday special and makes it feel a little less than in some ways.
But I think that's the intention, though.
I think that's the intention. Do I like it, though?
Okay, yeah. That's the question there. Like, does it work for you? I think for what James Gunn was intending, as far as like whether you look at Werewolf by Night as it does feel like more of a cinematic experience with that Halloween special. But you can see that he's going for like that, Charlie Brown's, the Christmas special, things like that. And it does feel like a TV movie, but I think that's kind of the charm of it. But I thought, like, for me, it really did kind of work.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't know if all of the jokes landed for me. The big joke, which is revealed in the trailer, I don't think it's a spoiler, that the gift that Drax and Mantis are going for is Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
As an idea, that is so funny. I love it, and I think Kevin Bacon's pretty darn good in this. I do think that some of his gags in the show...
Kevin
Bacon's gags, like the gags centered around him, the invasion of his house. So there was just something that just felt a little off to me. It didn't land like the comedy.
I think... when they're on Earth and they go to get him, I could see that a little bit, and I think maybe some of the stuff with Kevin Bacon is a little bit drawn out by the time they bring him back to nowhere. But for me, I think a lot of it really is just the relationship between Drax and Mantis, because this really is Mantis's story, and of course, it has that emotional arc of Mantis with her connection to Peter Quill. So I think a lot of that was stuff that really worked for me.
And Pom Klementieff as Mantis is phenomenal in this. This is like her best performance as that character in all of the Marvel productions.
She gets a lot more to do here than she has throughout the MCU to this point.
And now she's a much more important character going into the next Guardians of the Galaxy film. And I'm very excited to see what they do with her.
Yeah. Some of the song, that opening song, I thought
I love
was,
it. Yeah, the old 97s.
Yeah.
Oh, so good, so good. Yeah.
What's your rating for this?
So, I'm a Marvel zombie. I love all Marvel things. I don't want to say anything bad about a Marvel thing because I have a good time with all of them.
There you go.
I'm going to say it's a high B-. I'm going to go into the B- because I'm still not comfortable with the tone that this show strikes, but I still love being there.
I'm the same way, and again, for me, all of it really, really worked for me, and I think it was really that emotional arc of Mantis and just really that end scene just really worked with all the Guardians and just everything coming together. So I'm gonna give this a solid B+. I really enjoyed this.
Groot looks weird.
I like Swole Groot.
It looks weird.
Swole Groot looks good. All right, so those are our thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. When we return, we're going to take a look at Steven Spielberg and his latest film, The Fabelmans.
Here are AARP top tips on caregiver preparedness during coronavirus. Form a team that can help with caregiving tasks. Take an inventory of essential supplies in your loved one's home. Make a list of the care recipient's medications. Schedule regular calls to fight isolation. Finally, take care of yourself too. Follow the Centers for Disease Control's guidelines for coronavirus safety. For more caregiving tips, go to aarp.org/caregiving.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I want you to make a camping trip movie. You can learn how the editing machine works while you do this. It'll make your mom feel better.
Yeah.
That last night when she danced in the headlights, that'd be great. Get to it tomorrow, okay?
Tomorrow's when we start shooting. Escape to nowhere. We're shooting all weekend,
Shooting
Dad.
next weekend.
We got like 40 guys coming to be in the movie. I'll work on all the camping trip stuff on Monday.
I'm asking you to do this now for your mom.
Yeah, and I said that I will, just not tomorrow.
Don't be selfish. She just lost her mother. That's more important than your hobby.
Dad, can you stop calling it a hobby?
It'll cheer her up watching this. It's something we can
Her
do.
mom just died. How is that going to cheer her up?
Because you made it for her.
Bert Fabelman charges his son Sam to edit some home video footage to cheer up his mother, but when the conflicts with his weekend film shoot with his friends, his father's true feelings about his hobby comes to light, bringing a bigger conflict and friction between the two of them in the latest Steven Spielberg film based on his young life as an aspiring filmmaker. Brad, let me go ahead and start with you. I know you have some feelings about The Fabelman.
I love The Fabelmans. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. Okay. I do think it is a film that you have to bring your appreciation and knowledge of Steven Spielberg into. Because it is an autobiographical work. There's a little distance to it. He calls it The Fabelmans. It's not called The Spielbergs. No. But it's also called The Fabelmans. It's a fable of Steven Spielberg's life. Yes. It's spelled a little differently. But yeah, I mean, I jived with it perfectly.
I think for me, and don't get me wrong, I like this movie a lot. I really enjoyed watching it. But for me, I think it comes down to some of the performances that really kind of blocked me from really engaging with the movie the way that I really wanted to. I think specifically I want to talk about Michelle Williams, who's a fantastic actress. But it seems like she's kind of going for this kind of broad theatrical type of performance that really just kind of like, it made it a little more difficult for me to really kind of engage with the film and the emotionality of that family dynamic. This is an extremely
heightened movie. Yeah. It's melodramatic. And I think that can alienate some. Yeah. But this is also Steven Spielberg basically looking back on his life with tremendous hindsight, with a lot of sentimentality. This is a movie that my dad would make about his own life, right? And he brings a lot of empathy to the characters in his life that he didn't have before.
Yeah.
And, you know, Spielberg was estranged from his father for 15 years.
Yeah.
And you look at this film and it feels like an apology to his dad. He finally has the knowledge of what happened, the weird relationship dynamic that occurs within this unit that severs this unit. He now fully understands that. And
it feels like he is kind of apologizing for that strain in his relationship with his father. And I think if you know Spielberg's story and you see this movie, you can kind of see that, which I don't want to say it rings false, because I think the movie really kind of focused more on the I guess, what am I trying to say, like the emotional aspect of maybe like where he was as far as like how he sees his family dynamic.
I think if you're not bringing in the metatextual content, the movie doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this movie is a little bit of a Rosetta Stone to understanding all of Steven Spielberg's, you know, filmic work. And if you watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., The Last Crusade, you're starting to understand that movie better from the creator's point of view.
And it's interesting because we talked a little bit about this beforehand, and you mentioned the Spielberg documentary that's streaming, and I did go ahead and watch that. And I don't want to say that documentary kind of did a disservice to me with the Fabelmans, but I think I got a lot more as far as like the intention that maybe Spielberg was going for in the Fabelmans. I got a lot more from that documentary, learning more about his family life and how he has taken his experience as a child and then injected that into a lot of his films. But I do think that this movie works well as a double feature with that documentary.
Yeah, but I also don't want to like do a disservice to the film, because I do feel like there's a lot of art in this movie that is worth celebrating.
It is.
The metaphor that we get early on, where he watches The Greatest Show on Earth, the train wreck terrifies him in that Charlton Heston, Jimmy Stewart movie, and he has to film it to control and understand his fear, and that right there is all of Spielberg's movie. That's what Close Encounters is. That's what E.T. is. He's trying to understand and control the fear of his family breaking up.
And I think, and that's the beauty, I think, of this film as well, is the art of cinema and how, like, just how cinema really can, how us as film goers and film lovers respond to cinema, and how we kind of use that to kind of shape our experiences.
Yeah, but again, from the creator's perspective.
From the creator's.
And to me, this movie demands further reading beyond the Fabelmans. So if you didn't really enjoy the Fabelmans, it didn't work for you, it was too melodramatic or whatever, I think you need to revisit it after doing some deep dives into Spielberg's filmography.
What's your rating for this?
B+, huge B+.
I'm gonna give this a high B-. I don't know if I can necessarily recommend this, and I think just like with some other Spielberg's movies, they're a little too long. I know.
The last scene, though. We didn't even talk about the last scene.
Yeah,
the last scene is one of the best scenes all year, all decade.
The last scene is fantastic, and I loved it. And I left the theater with a smile on my face. So, but
you gotta go see a Spielberg movie, even when they don't work. You gotta go.
Yeah, high B-. But you know, I know. I'm gonna catch it for that. Anyway, those are our thoughts on The Fabelmans. To kind of review the films that we've talked about today, The Menu, we both give a B+. Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, another B+ from both of us. We're a little bit split on Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. Brad gives that a B-. I give that a B+. And we split again on The Fabelmans. Brad gives that a B+. I give it a high B-. So those are our thoughts on the films that we reviewed this week. And we will see you next time at the theater.